we'll make a balance later. What I've heard now so far leads me to suggest to you that we first probably talk for a short moment about, I call it the planetary boundaries. It is obvious that we cannot use as much input as we are used to in the future. Now, we've heard some suggestions from your side. We've heard quite different suggestions from Vandana's side. And we have also heard from the nitrogen specialists that this is really an area of concern and something where we have to act, probably not only with a vision versus 2050, but actually earlier, because nitrogen, number one, is a really aggressive polluter, and too much nutrients in water lead to death zones and so on and so forth. And on the other hand, the emissions from the fertilization with nitrogen from the Haber-Bosch process is one of the major contributors to climate change at the same time. So I think there have been two visions we could identify how to cope with this, and probably Mrs. Bellingrath-Kimura, Mrs. Kimura, thank you. You could give us a short introduction once more. What are the challenges of reduction? How do we have to, where do we have to stand by 2030, by 2050 in that respect?
Sure, if you look back, and before the pre-industrial time, we had around 130 telegram nitrogen cycles, and now it increased almost double. So it means that modern agriculture doubles the nitrogen cycles. It doesn't mean that the nitrogen amount has increased, but the reactive nitrogen, it's 80% in the air, and among those, including these cycles, physical, biological, chemical cycles increased, and then doubled in these activities. And the problem of the nitrogen is that, as I told, it is related to many aspects, also to the carbon. You cannot separate carbon from nitrogen, it's always coupled, like organic materials coupled carbon and nitrogen. And so this amount, if you want to sustain or increase food, I rather would say sustain that, rather it's a distribution problems and many other issues behind that. If you want to sustain, you have to make the cycles smaller. It doesn't mean that the amount will change. Maybe you can keep the amount, but it has to cycle much more on the point. So it means much more use of the legumes. It can fix nitrogen without any fossil fuel energies, and have a much more site-specific management. It means that it will be like the old term of precision farming, but it is much more modern. It is, we think about that in 2050, it will be much more small-scale patches of agricultural activities. It can be, my vision would be that there will be no organic or chemical, this kind of boundaries. It will be agroecological views and how to make the best use of that point. And it can be one plant on one point, maybe cultivated with some robots, and it can be owned by smallholders or a big company. It doesn't mean it will not be any difference because it will be site-specific. That would be my vision to make this nitrogen cycle much more, to reduce the environmental load by keeping this high level of cycles. Because the nitrogen, it will cycle, so it's a utilization of the cycle, even though it is an open path, is necessary to think about. And so we just heard some of the point of the digitalization, also about the IITs, and it can be used in this way or that way. The technology is neutral. The problem is what we do with this technology and with what vision, with what connection we will do it. And this digitalization, the information of those, how to use the size-specific information is not in any relation to the size, farmer size. I have made some application, some project application with some Mozambican farmers, and Mozambique is one of the poorest countries in the world, for mobile phone based agricultural management systems. So it came from the Mozambicans, this idea, how to make better use of their soils, their land, and so that will be the same for any kind of industrial lands where we have much better possibility to use, have much more access to these technologies. And so in terms of nitrogen, sure, it will be the use of those information, size-specific data, and the provision of those data to the farmers. And the next step would be to connect the farmers to the consumers again, to have activities, to have a closer relation to the consumers through those information. How to do this, and without any kind of regulations, that there will be some, that there will be openness, without any controlling by any kind of outsiding organizations, will be a challenge. And I'm also in some other committees dealing with those digitalization in Germany, EU, also in other parts of the world. So it will be a big challenge now we are facing. And then it will be the vision is asked how to use those not new, but those available technologies and informations, and how the society will deal with those information. Okay. It's again an open question.
So I guess one question to you, Vandana, would be: do you actually ecologically practicing smallholder farmers need digitization to work with less nitrogen? And where does it stand? You said 70% of the food comes from
80 now.
Or 80, whatever.
FAO.
From smallholder farmers who probably do not use 80% of the artificial fertilizers, do they?
No. So, in my 50 years of ecological work, I've learned two things. Biodiversity is what really weaves the web of life. I've done work with women farmers who eat 250 uncultivated edibles. In Monsanto biovocabulary, they are weeds that need to be killed by Roundup. The insect species that are disappearing, 75% gone in Germany alone in the last few years, are not pests. They're insects. Pests are a symptom of bad farming. When you destroy the balance and you create monocultures, one insect has a feast, it becomes a pest. Then you spray a poison, it becomes a super pest. Then you bring a GMO, it becomes a super pest. Not a very smart way to go. You asked the specific question on digitalization. I want to just share with you. So robotics, you mentioned robotics and intelligent precision farming. We've done a new report, The Future of Our Daily Bread, Regeneration or Collapse. You can get it from Nadanya International website. And data collection from machines can sometimes generate wrong data. In 2010, Monsanto began crunching 50 years of data using algorithms to adapt its GM maize varieties to each season's predicted diseases. Then one year, the algorithm neglected to include Gauss's wilt disease in its plant breeding, and there were huge crop losses. John Deere, which has collaborated with Monsanto, Bayer, on putting spyware in farm machinery to collect data of the soil and then sell it back as big data to the farmers through digitalization. Well, they sent out robots trudging through Australia's cotton fields to take more than 100,000 digital photos of that crop in all its stages. But when the company went back to the cotton fields of the American South, the robots, see and spray technology, it's called see and spray technology, hose down healthy cotton plants and spare the weeds. Whether the technology misread the images or what went wrong, still got to be sorted out. Benny introduced me as an eco-feminist. It's a simple philosophy. Nature is smart, intelligent, and creative. Women are smart, intelligent, and creative. And I think part of the problem with the new miracles being offered is that they assume we have no intelligence. That a plant does not know how to defend itself. New studies on the amazing intelligence of plants to release the chemicals that equip them to control pests. And the next plant, and the next plant. They're now finding out in one root zone of a plant. One root zone. There's more neurological activity going on than in our brain. We are starting to only begin to figure out the intelligence in the living systems. And that's the time when they want us to outsource our brain. Sorry, we will not.
So, Mr. Lemken, to come back to your lies. Is it? Sorry. It were the animals. What went wrong then? That they could multiply so fast? And what I'm aiming at is, what is your vision of reducing the input, reducing the pesticides, reducing the losses that then lead to an overproduction in the end of the day? Is there an agroecological perspective within Bayer?
Yes, of
course.
course.
Would you describe it?
Yes, of course. Because I know the company now more than 22 years, and especially in the several countries. And I visited also a couple of farms, not only in Germany and in Europe. They have a very good overview about this activity. I was also in Asia and also 2 years ago in Nigeria to see several farms. And then when you're coming back, you have another overview and also another impression. I know this very well, Dr. Shiva, I can understand you. But on the other hand, it's really important, how can we bring the activity of biodiversity more to the 95% of farmers' families in Germany? How can we do this? And we started a campaign internally to bring more biodiversity to the farms. Biodiversity and also the sustainable activity is also part now for our customer information events. We have also started worldwide and also in Germany the topic Bayer Forward Farm to show not only customers, also stakeholder, also if you are interested in you, and we can manage this next year, that you invite the group to come over to Nauen. This is very easy to come over from Friedrichstraße, Berlin to Nauen, very easy. We can do this in spring when the vegetation is there. Then we can show you the activity, different activities in regard of bee health, water protection, also flower stripes and other things to bring more the biodiversity into the onto the farm. And on the other hand, the farmers started also on the field not to bring the row of wheat only, it's normally 11 centimeter the space to another row, it did it 22. And this is a result that you can bring more birds into the field. This is a very good exercise that the farmers can do with very limited resources, very high results to the biodiversity. And we have to think more in this kind of steps. How can we bring more different crops on the fields? On my farm we have 3 or 4 different crops. Other farmers are working only with 2 crops, and it's important to bring more different crops on the farm. Then we have more biodiversity, and I'm really sure, and discussed the point with a couple of people who are working in areas like robotic system, precision farming and so on. In future we have the possibility not show only the big machines what we today have, and when you see big machines it's not so good for the ground. We will work with smaller machines. And then there's with robotic system, there's not the need to have only big fields. You can do this also with smaller fields, and then you have a field with the stripe, flower stripes or another crop. And this brings also the number of insects to the higher average. And at least in the city it's very easy to look to the farmer area. But on the other hand, the farmers had also the question, how can we bring the money to the family, how can we bring the income to the family, and how can we bring the tradition of the farming family. My farm, from my parents, they worked, also another generation worked 200 years and longer, 6 or 7 generations there on the farm. This is normal, and we are not working as a farmer like to see the big benefits to poison our grounds. It's the way of responsibility. To do this very, very successful, to need only the use of fertilizers, pesticides, every time only in this size was really the need for the ground. And also to bring other minerals and phosphor, kalium and so into the ground, because otherwise you will take only the things from the ground. You had to bring also the life into the ground again. And for me it's very important to see all these aspects in future farming, to bring more flower stripes in it, to bring more crops on the fields. Also we can learn from, this is very important, you mentioned this also before, not to show only on one hand the modern conventional production, on the other hand the maybe golden standard organic production. No. The conventional modern area is not the golden standard, and also the organic farming is also not the golden standard. We need both, and we need also development of a better way of both. Because also in organic farming, they need also crop protection products, also pesticides, copper, also insecticides. When there are fungus in the crops, they need also there's also the need to spray the crops. And on the other hand, it's also important to see really the development in the society. And there's also the difference in several regions of the world, I'm sure. And also in 20 years, there's no need to have pesticides in several regions of the world. I know. But we know also that in several regions we need really a production. Otherwise, we have the problem that we not can bring the high number of food to the people.